Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Brian Howard Blackson Jr., founder and creator of Venus and Orion Comics. And I've noticed that ever since I started sharing videos in regards to the Venus and Orion Comics universe, I received a ton of questions from you guys in regards of how do I come up with my stories and how did I create Varion Keller's Vampire Killers and just the world in general. And these are great questions because when it comes to how we consume our favorite form of entertainment, we only see the finished product. We only see the characters. We only see the world and the awesome trailers. If you haven't checked out the trailers for the characters that I've shown off so far for Varion Keller's Vampire Killers, I suggest you go check those out. But yes, you guys only see that. But what you don't see is the process behind how these stories come to be and how they're created from the creators themselves. So I thought it'd be a fun idea to start a brand new series of where I walk you through the exact approach of how I create my worlds and how I create my characters, or my take on the storytelling process. Now, before I begin, I also want to make this clear is that this is not the golden rules or a master class. This is just me just sharing my thoughts on how I can be able to answer these questions for you guys. And this is simply the process of how it works for me. The same process that helped me create Varion Keller's Vampire Killers, Ultra Squad X, the Die Star Champion, Siona, Omni Protocol, the Adrenaline and Codename Viper and Cobra, and of course Neo Suit Johnny. All that pretty much makes up phase one, the foundation of the Venus Orion Comics universe. So if you are someone who's interested in writing stories, creating characters, making comics, games, novels, animation, or any kind of creative project, hopefully something in this series will help you out. So today we're going to begin at the very start of all this, the idea phase. So first we're going to begin with the first phase, and I call this the idea phase when it comes to storytelling process. Now, before we even get into the ideas and where the ideas come from, I want to talk about one of the biggest mistakes oftentimes beginners make. And honestly, it's a mistake that I make myself. And a lot of us think that our first story needs to be made into an epic. The next Star Wars, it needs to be the next One Piece, Game of Thrones, the next Marvel comic universe. And because of that, we start overthinking everything. We try to create thousands of years of lore and hundreds of characters and dozens of kingdoms, complex power systems, political intrigue, plot twists, definitely the plot twist, and secret organizations. And before we know it, we've spent years creating a world that doesn't actually have a story. Sometimes simple is better, and I would say much better. Take Invincible, for example. It's at its core, it's a very simple concept. A young superhero discovered that his father isn't exactly who he thought he was, and that's it. That's the foundation. The reason why people love Invincible isn't because the premise is revolutionary, it's because the characters are strong, the relationships are strong, and of course the emotional conflicts are strong. And people care about those characters, and that's what keeps people invested in the story of Invincible. So don't feel the pressure or the need to create some giant masterpiece right away. Start small and build your way up. So how I approach the idea phase, I want you to keep this in mind. When it comes to ideas, allow it to flow freely and forget about structure. And when it comes to any project and ideas that I have, it's very simple. Forget about structure. And seriously, I definitely mean it. Forget about the world building, forget about the power systems, the plot holes, forget whether or not it makes sense, because during this phase, it's all about exploration. I want ideas. I want lots of them. I don't care how crazy they are. I don't care how they contradict each other. I don't care how stupid they may sound. Just write them down, use a notebook or sticky notes, your phone, or even your computer. Use whatever works for you. And the goal is to get the ideas out of your head and onto something much more physical. And right now, don't even think about organize them. Organize them much later, because right now we're just using our imagination to get our ideas out there. Now, I know some of you guys are probably wondering, it's like, okay, that's good and all, but the ideas, where do the ideas come from? And this is the perfect time for me to explain where I draw my source of inspiration for ideas, and that's from my life experiences. Yes, your life experience is the perfect tool for ideas, and people tend to underestimate that, especially if you're a beginner writer. Draw from your personal experience. And I'll give you a perfect example of that. My first comic book series, Orion Keller's Vampire Killers, takes place in the city of Neodelphia. Now, Neodelphia has pretty much been inspired by Philadelphia, the city where I was born and raised. Now, in my neighborhood, it became quite common to have surveillance cameras placed everywhere due to violence. And because of that, there has become privacy concerns, because despite the fact that we have these cameras to try to provide security, we're trading in privacy for that security. Now your life is on display. And that also encouraged or inspired me to create the Guardian Protocol system that's found in Orion Keller's Vampire Killers and in the Guardian states of America, which we'll touch bases on in future videos and also other comic book series that will release in the near future. This is a system where everyone is connected, security, and that simple observation become the foundation for the entire city. But let's look at other creators, because if you look at other creators, you'll understand, or you'll be surprised at how something has become so foundational to pop culture and entertainment. The things that you love comes from some of the most basic and simple ideas. And the first idea we go with, and inspiration from personal experiences, come from Kei Urana, which is who she is, the creator of Gachiakuta. And it's very simple. And this idea for Gachiakuta simply came from the fact is that one day her pencil has broken. This pencil has meant a lot to her because it represented the evolution, the growth of herself as an artist and a writer. And to most people, a pencil, that's something simple. Why get upset over that? But that pencil represented years of memory, years of creativity, and that emotional connection eventually evolved into the concept where objects carry value to that individual. And when you look at that, that's how the foundation of Gachiakuta had came to be. And let's look at another example. We have Pac-Man, Toru Iwatani. He's the father and the founder of the Pac-Man series, the IP itself. And this idea came from the fact is that he walked into a pizza parlor and saw two young ladies sitting down at a table, and he looked at the pizza, and a piece of it was sliced out and it made this shape, and he called it Pac-Man. And Pac-Man has become a worldwide phenomenon. It pretty much shook up the gaming industry and arcade culture. And when you look at it, it's very simple. And when you look at the little fruits and ice creams that bounce around the maze, that's also the snacks that were found in the pizza parlor. And these are very basic ideas. But what about the most recognizable video game character of all time from Nintendo themselves? Shigeru Miyamoto, where we look at the series called Legend of Zelda, which is the first video game I've ever played when I was 4 years old, which was the original on the NES. And that idea had come from the fact is that Miyamoto, when he was much younger, he used to go by the countryside in Japan, and he used to find and explore in little caves, and those little caves and dungeons had inspired him as a young adventurer, and it inspired the IP in the series that we know today, The Legend of Zelda. And one last example, and this is another IP or a game in particular that pretty much inspired Venus Orion comics in general, and that's the development of Final Fantasy VII and its father and creator, Hironobu Sakaguchi. The idea of Final Fantasy VII in the Lifestream came from the fact that during development, his mother has passed away. And that pretty much gave him the idea that he wanted to really talk about life, loss, and memory. And ultimately, it helped shape the most beloved RPG of all time that people still talk about till this very moment. And these creators weren't waiting for a magical idea. They just took experiences from their own lives and transformed them into stories. And you can pretty much do the same. Now, let's talk about something that people don't expect. We already talked about life's experiences that you can pretty much pull from in order to create some free-flowing ideas for a potential story, for the storytelling process. Now, there's another source of inspiration you can pull from, and that's music. Yes, that's right, music. I cannot stress enough how important music has been when it came to the creative process for myself, when coming up with stories, characters, and how to expand the world of Venus Orion comics. See, music if you think about it, music creates emotion and emotion creates ideas. And certain songs can instantly transport you somewhere else, back to a specific memory, a specific place, a specific feeling. For me, music helped shape an entire section of the Venus Orion Comics universe. Ghost in the Shell soundtrack heavily inspired aspects of Neodelphia and influenced the atmosphere, the technology, the feeling of the city itself. And it even helped me better understand characters like Faith Tanaka from the 8th Omni District Omni Protocol series, which a lot of you guys are also looking forward to as well. Then there was Neo Industries, and believe it or not, part of that was inspired from music, specifically Sonic Riders. And I know it sounds crazy, but one day my brother was listening to the soundtrack one day, and this was the sequel, Gravity. I heard it, and then something clicked. I immediately ran back upstairs into my room, got back onto my computer as I was pretty much coming up with more concepts and ideas for Neodelphia and Neo Industries itself. And eventually Neo Sujani was born, and that's how powerful music can be, so never underestimate that. Now let's address something that a lot of creators struggle with, and that's originality, because there's this notion that everything that you create has to be 100% original. And I think, in my personal opinion, that's a trap, because if we're going to be honest, some of our favorite television series, cartoons, anime, you name it, all has been inspired by something that already exists. The creator of Jujutsu Kaisen had said that his series was inspired by Hunter x Hunter. Naruto was inspired by Akira and Rurouni Kenshin, and My Hero Academia was inspired by Western comic book superheroes. Nothing exists in a vacuum, and that's okay. The goal isn't to avoid inspiration. The goal is to transform that inspiration into something that's uniquely yours. Take those ideas, mix them together, add your own experiences, add your own perspective and your own themes, and eventually something new emerges. That's how creativity works. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, is this: story ideas doesn't come from a magical place. They come from your life, your experiences, the people that you've met, the places that you've been, the media that you consume, and emotions that you have felt. Every creator starts from somewhere. Neodelphia came from Philadelphia, Pac-Man came with pizza, Zelda started with exploring caves, and Gachiakuta came from and started from a broken pencil. Your story can start with something really simple. Don't wait for the perfect idea. Start with something small, write it down, see where it takes you, because you never know. That tiny idea might become the foundation for something much more incredible. And that pretty much wraps up this video, because in part 2 of this story creation process series, we're going to pretty much take those ideas and begin transforming them also into actual characters and actual world building itself. So thank you for watching, and if you have any thoughts and any other advice that you can give others in the comment sections below, and you can also give me advice, because I'm not a pro at this. I'm still learning, and that's the whole point of this channel. You watch me learn the process of creating stories, creating comics, and the things that I enjoy the most, and hopefully what I learn you can pretty much take from that and be inspired to create your own thing. So definitely let me know, what is your process of how you approach coming up with ideas within the idea phase of story creation. So if you like the video, definitely hit that like button, subscribe button for more, I guess you say, creator driven content, and also more from Venus Orion Comics in my universe. This is Brian Howard Blackson Jr. signing off.